Hello everybody, hope everything's going well despite all this crazy weather. I realise I've run out some groceries, so I'm going to have to go to the shop. There's no way we can drive out, so I'm going to have to get my backpack on and go out in a little bit. It looks pretty cold out there, but I'm sure it'll be good fun. So yeah, just hope you're getting through this. Um, Theoretically, we're going to be back open on Thursday. I'm not sure. There's very little driving going on out there, and we're very near Poplar, and even on Poplar, there's not much driving. So maybe we'll be in person on Thursday, maybe not. So if not, so basically, what we'll do is we'll do a video on. Of just the first, this is the Tuesday video, which is the first half of this week's course, and the second half I'll release on Thursday if we're not in person. Just to say that the week one assignments I've opened till Wednesday at midnight because a few people have had problems with electricity and Wi-Fi and things like that. Okay, so let's just, without further ado, let's dive into what we're doing today, which is comparative advantage, which is a very, very important thing that really has big effects on how people allot tasks, how they specialize, and how they specialize in certain things, and then you have a system of trade built on people specializing. And as we'll see, especially on Thursday, we'll be looking at how that can build up into a system of global trade. Okay, so basically today we'll be explaining and applying the principle of comparative advantage and explain how it differs from absolute advantage. And that's what we're going to do today. It's on Thursday, we're going to look at the other things about the production possibilities curve and how that shifts, and then we'll be looking at how comparative advantage leads to a system of international trade. Okay, so we're going to talk about this lady, Kelly Wearstler, a highly successful and influential interior designer. She's equipped to do other design work. Should she design her own page? And I can also tell you, this Kelly, she's quite a lady. She actually can, she's the best cook, in the whole world. She's brilliant at DIY. She can just do anything, Kelly. But the question is, should she do it? Because doing her influential interior designing, she can earn $500 an hour. So if you think about it, that means the opportunity cost of her spending an hour doing anything else is $500, isn't it? So ultimately, if she hired someone to do, like, design the web page, to do the cooking, to do the DIY, and she does that for less than $500 an hour, that makes economic sense. You do it yourself when opportunity cost is less than hired cost. And so, you think, well, yeah, great, but I'm better at those things. I like my cooking. I want to design my web page. And that's great, but that's also, how things. One, you're never going to earn the money you could have earned because obviously every hour that you're spending doing something else is you're losing $500. But also that can become very stressful when you're just doing everything in your life. Now, Kelly, you can say, has an absolute advantage. She's the lady. She can do all sorts of things better than anyone else. She can perform the task in fewer hours than the other person. She can build that website quicker than other people. But the trouble is, by building that website, spending maybe 5 hours doing that website, 6 hours, that's going to cost her $3,000 because that's $3,000 of foregone earnings. And this is the principle of opportunity cost and comparative advantage, because a person has an absolute advantage when they can do things better than the other person. But the person has a comparative advantage at a particular task if his or her opportunity cost of performing the task is lower than the other person's opportunity cost. And that's comparative advantage is not just about your skills, it's about your skills and at a task compared to your skills at other tasks. You know, that ultimately, you know, maybe Kelly is the best cook in the world, the best, you know, web designer in the world. But if someone can maybe design a website for $200 an hour, but you know, that hour where she could be earning $500, that means she's going to profit from that. You know, same with the cooking. You know, and that, you know, that web designer that's like, okay, I'm really good at web designing. I don't do particularly much else in my life. If they can earn $200 is an awful lot to be earning in an hour. That means, you know, they've got the comparative advantage. So the principle of comparative advantage means that everyone does best when each person or each country, and that's what we'll be looking at on Thursday, concentrates on the activities for which their opportunity cost is the lowest. Okay, so let's just try and think of a practical example of this. Multiple people are faced with multiple tasks. How should they assign the work? And so ultimately, we've got to each concentrate on the activities for which they have the lowest opportunity cost. And that, as we'll see, as everyone concentrates on where they have the lowest opportunity cost, output increases with specialization and trade. So we've got these two people. We've got Anna and we've got Chin. And they both do these two things. They both can do web updates and they can both do bike repair. Now, Anna's killing it. She can do a web update in 20 minutes. She can do a bike repair in 10 minutes. She is really, really good. She has the absolute advantage. Where Chin, you know, slowly but surely, you know, she's good, but she's not like Anna. She can do a web update in 30 minutes or a bike repair in 30 minutes. Now, first thing, well, Anna is she's just a girl, you know, she should just do it all, you know, because she's so good at it. But as we'll see, mathematically, that's not true. Because look at who has the lower opportunity cost. Just think it through, maybe pause the video. Because let's think about Anna. If she does a web update, that's costing, you know, because the opportunity cost is the other thing, is costing 2 bike repairs. But Chin, when she does a web update, is only costing 1 bike repair. So straight away you can see that Chin has the comparative advantage when it comes to web updates. So let's see. You know, they can both do both, and Anna has an absolute advantage in both. And but its comparative advantage drives specialization. So who has a comparative advantage in what? So let's think about it. If Anna wants to do a bike repair, how much of a web update is she giving up? Half. Whereas Chin does one, she's giving up a full, well, you know, if Chin does a bike repair, she's giving up a full web update. So again, Anna has the comparative advantage when it comes to bike repair. So we can see that the web update, or you know, if you look at this opportunity cost box, we can see that to do for each web update, Anna's giving up half. You know, for each for each web update, she's giving up 2 repairs. So that's pretty costly. Where for each web update, Chin is giving up 1 repair. So she has the comparative advantage. But when it comes to bike repair, Anna's giving up half a web update. So she has, as opposed to Chin, who's giving up 1 update. So Anna has the comparative advantage in bike repair. So hopefully you got that right. Chin has the comparative advantage in web updates. Anna has the comparative advantage when it comes to bike repair. And so the hourly output would potentially be, if she just, each hour was just concentrated on that one thing, uh, Anna could do 3 updates in an hour or 6 bike repairs. Chin could do 2 updates or 2 repairs if they concentrate that whole hour on there. Now, so let's imagine 16 updates are ordered. Now, web updates are ordered. Now, let's imagine each of them has got 8 hours. So let's say, okay, Anna spends half the time of that 8 hours. Anna spends half the time on each activity. She'll be doing 4 hours of web updates, and that will cause 3 times 4 would be 12. Then she would do 4 hours on repairs, and then that would be 24 repairs. So that would be 4 updates and 12. So 12 updates and 24 repairs. Now Chin would spend 2 hours, let's say, doing those updates, and she'd create 4 updates, and then the other 6 hours she'd be spending on repairs. That would be 12 repairs. So altogether, there'll be 16 updates and 36 repairs. Now, what if they just concentrate on what they had comparative advantage in? If they did that, if you think about it, if Anna just spent all her time doing web repairs, that would be 18. 6 times 8, 48 repairs, and then Chin spent all her time doing the web updates. That would be 2 times 8, 16. So you get your 16 web updates, but suddenly, boom, because of comparative advantage, you've got 48 repairs as opposed to 36 repairs. Because, and that's why people specialize. Often we think about the old days, hundreds of years ago, where people had a little, sort of little field where they grew their vegetables and had a few sheep and chicken, and then they would, make their own shoes for the horse and, make their own clothes. You think, it's an idyllic lifestyle. But the reality is it's a very inefficient way of doing things economically, because by Chin and Anna specializing, you produce much more, so it's 12 more repairs for the same inputs. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful idea. It's a powerful idea when it comes to individuals, but it's also a very powerful idea when it comes to nations, probably more powerful when it comes to nations, as we'll look at on Thursday. Okay, let's have another example. Monique and Miguel, 2 M's, and they've got the sort of same thing going on when it comes to web updates and bike repairs. So let's think, who has the comparative advantage when it comes to web updates? Same situation, isn't it? It's Miguel. When it comes to bike repair, same situation. It's Monique. They're oh no, that's it. Sorry, it's the other way around, isn't it? It's yes, because it's flipped, isn't it? That because she can do 2 updates in an hour, so that's one, so 2 in an hour, or 1 repair in an hour. She's actually better at the sort of web update. Sorry about that. So sorry, Monique is better, has the comparative advantage when it comes to web updates, and Miguel has the comparative advantage when it comes to bike repair. Always watch that. I made a mistake, and you may make those mistakes. That when it says, instead of when it came to Anna and Chin, they presented it 20 minutes and 10 minutes. So that's, if you think about it, that's 3 an hour versus 6 an hour. Where here they've they've put it in a slightly different way, and that can confuse you. Yeah, so I made the mistake there. And so we can see that, yeah, Monique has the comparative advantage when it comes to repair, when it comes to sort of web updates, and Miguel has the um, comparative advantage when it comes to bike repair. Now, if you look at it, neither has particularly the absolute advantage in both. It's not like the other situation. They're a bit more evenly matched here, but it still means that you can go with, Monique will repair the bikes, and Miguel will update the web pages, And so again, it's the same situation. We could work it all through mathematically. If they both concentrate on what they have a comparative advantage in, they'll do better. Now, just lastly, for this week, we're going to look at why people have comparative advantage. Now, one of them is talent. Ultimately, some people are just better at certain things than others. And that's just the way people are born. But there's also the natural resources. If you're in an area where you have particular natural resources, you're going to be good at something, and especially when it comes to countries, oil. Like I lived in Saudi Arabia, oil is just coming out of the ground in certain places. You know what I mean? Where oil in other places may be deep underground, and that's going to cause differences in opportunity costs in producing oil, for example. And cultures or social norms, like German culture, is very much about engineering and exactness and straightness and things like that, and efficiency, where other cultures are much better at sort of, service and, the human side of things, And so these are sources of comparative advantage. Obviously, language skills. The ability to speak another country's language means it's easier to trade with that person, in the institutions of a country. Is there support for entrepreneurship? These are some of the things that drive comparative advantage, especially between nations. Okay, so I think we're going to leave it there. Just go through this video, make sure you're understanding what's happened so far. You'll see the slides on files, and yeah, and then hopefully we'll be in person on Thursday. Okay, speak soon.